difficult.
Preserved for history how bad we are, some of us.
I should have started when Bob Swanson was trying to log on. That was classic.
But Bob's on now, correct?
I think so.
All right, Bob. Okay, one of the things that I'm going to add to the virtual meeting is a question of the week. And today's question, so you can think about it in advance, is what was your most embarrassing moment? So think about that, and we'll do that right before our speaker.
I'm ready.
You ready?
Can you see my
All right.
screen? You see the flag?
Okay, wonderful. All right, well, then I'm going to call the meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. I'm John Stroke, president of the Birmingham Rotary Club, and this is our second virtual meeting, and they're just going to get bigger and better. We're going to start our meeting as we always do with an allegiance to our nation, especially in these difficult times. I hope you all are well, and let's all together recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States
of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation,
under
God,
God, indivisible,
liberty and justice for all.
And together, let's all recite our four-way Rotary test. First.
is the truth.
The truth.
Fair to all concerned. Third will build
goodwill,
Better friendships.
Fourth will
be beneficial to all concerned.
Well, thank you, everyone. And George Stern, would you please provide us with an invocation?
Are you going to have a patriotic song first?
Oh, no.
We did attempt that last week, and that didn't go as well as we'd like. So I think we're going to forgo that.
Okay.
Well, we could do it if you muted everybody but the singer.
Well, Bill, do you want to lead us in a song?
So you got to mute everybody but the singer.
All
Okay,
right.
got it.
Mute everybody but me.
Very well. And Bill, why don't you select
All right.
a patriotic song?
Okay. America the Beautiful.
Right.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains' majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Woo! Good job. All right, where's John? Hold on. Where'd John go?
Well, yeah, I'm right
Oh, there
here.
you go.
Yeah.
Yep, you're good.
George, would you lead us in an invocation?
Unmute yourself, George.
Unmute.
You're good.
At this time, as we are hunkered down with an economy in repose, we recall that Moses encountered an epidemic in the desert. His sister Miriam turned scaly white, and her flesh was half consumed. Her disease was highly contagious. In Numbers 13, Moses cries unto the Lord, "Heal her now, O God, I beseech thee." And the Lord said unto Moses, "Let her be shut up without the camp, quarantined 7 days, and after that she shall be brought in again." And the people, millions strong, journeyed not, shut down their economy till Miriam was brought in again. And afterwards the people journeyed on.
Reagan sent out
Oh God, we beseech you to care for us.
else for this morning.
and the Jewish people in ancient days. Praise be thou our God who gave us life, sustains us in the worst of our travails, and brings us together this day in this way. Amen.
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 All right.
Looks like John stepped away.
We're at the point of guests. Any guests here? I'll
Yeah.
unmute you.
No, I'm here. Reagan, can you send Rich Shapak? He just called me. He's having trouble locating the email with the link for today.
Okay.
If
Yep.
you could send that to Rich, that would be appreciated. Yes. Do we have any guests today other than club members?
Just our
No.
speaker.
Just our speaker. Well, welcome, Bill Cousins, our speaker. What we'll do, Bill, is have you be at the back end of our meeting and conclude it. We appreciate your taking the time and effort to be with us today. We want to thank you, George, for that inspiration. And our bulletin editor today will be Amanda Anderson. Richard Shapak, when he does join us, will provide us with a 2-minute business update, and none other than Bob Swanson will be our host to the speaker. Reagan, at this time, there's a video selected, a short video. If you could present that to the club on screen, we'd appreciate it.
Okay. Hang on 1 second. Share screen. Hoping that's working. Oh, hold on. I gotta unmute it. Nope. No, come on, work for me. And I killed everybody. Okay, hold on. Can anyone hear that?
No.
Oh, you know what? Hold on. Audio. Oh, maybe it's not going to work. Thought it would. Oh, it's a good story. It's on the international.
We'll use it for next week.
Yeah.
We'll practice.
Get to work.
This is all good. What we're doing is getting the bugs out, and so that's fine. As we all know, we are all members of the membership committee, and so we have to do our best to gain members. And one way to do so is to invite people to participate in our weekly meetings and otherwise. So we don't have a specific membership minute today, but we will be able to do virtual induction ceremonies should we have new members, and that's something we should always be working towards. So think about that as we go forward. One of the things that I wanted to briefly mention today is that our club is going to engage in some COVID-19 projects locally. We do have, as a club, an application with the endowment fund for a grant. We may or may not be successful, but irrespective of that, this is going to be the subject of discussion among our group. And if we do obtain some funds, then what our club will do is talk about how those can best be utilized. So think about that as we proceed through the next week. The meeting of the endowment fund board is going to be on April 22nd, I believe. All right, being aware of that, is there some interest in discussing Reagan, I think you mentioned to me, and maybe that video talked about what another club was doing with respect to COVID-19 projects.
Yeah, that was from Oklahoma. It was actually a district of clubs, and they got together with a dairy farm to provide jugs. And then they had someone in one of their clubs that actually produced hand sanitizer. So they were making hand sanitizer to deliver to local hospitals. So it was actually really cool how they all kind of came together with their resources. And then each club picked up a certain amount of hand sanitizer and delivered it to those cities that they were all from. It was a neat story.
All right. All right. Anybody else that would want to mention a project that he or she is currently involved in otherwise, locally?
I know I've failed to deliver them so far, but I'm working this week on making those masks. A couple of years ago, I bought a bunch of Rotary fabric at the Toronto International Convention. So I'm making cloth masks that are reusable, and hoping to get donations for them so I can, with part of the money, buy more supplies, because all I'm using is what I have at home, and whatever's left over to donate towards our efforts for the COVID masks that the district's hoping to do.
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
We can hear you. We can hear you, Richard. Welcome. You always want to make an entrance, and we appreciate that. Well, thank you, Reagan.
Better?
Yes. Yes, we can hear you, Rich.
Sorry, guys. By next week, maybe I'll get this stuff squared away.
No problem. So
Here,
Reagan,
I have one of those Rotary masks. Here's what they look like. Here's one side. Yoo,
Hey, Chris, I really like your
my mask,
yeah.
and it's
It makes it a
reversible.
little bit more difficult to lip read, but
Look at that.
Yeah.
yes.
And then Rotary on this side. Woo!
Thank you all.
well, that's great. And so, Reagan, if you could put a blurb on our club website, we could have some interest in purchasers on that. I know George Stern, you expressed an interest in purchasing 2 of those.
Yeah,
Yes,
John
I
Lucha
have it
wants some,
on
and
my
Wendy.
porch with Reagan's name on it in an envelope. waiting.
I just got to get them done. So I've been trying to squeeze in work here and there. So
So we understand. And I understand too, you're going to put on our firm website that our club is soliciting donations to our local projects.
Testing
Yes.
1, 2,
COVID-19
3.
projects. Okay, wonderful. Then, Rich, we'll come back to you on our meeting schedule today for a 2-minute update. Are you prepared to provide that?
got it. Go ahead.
Okay. Rich?
Where'd he go?
Is this for you, Fran?
He keeps playing around with his microphone. Rich Shapak? Nope, he's not muted.
He's not muted. All right. Then, do we have Brian Frank in our meeting?
You do?
All right.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, hey, welcome, Brian. Let's go to you, Brian, while we're waiting for Rich. And if someone could, Wendy or someone shoot him an email. He's up next. I think it would be important, Brian, for the club to get a quick report on the Masters raffle results. You provided that to the board at our board meeting, but as a club, thank you.
Yeah, so we did the drawing on March 27th. We had about, I think it was 6 or 7 people there. There was a employee from the Village Club that happened to be in the parking lot at the time, and he was happy to pull the tickets for us. And there should be a video, I believe the video is loaded to our website and on our Facebook profile. So you can go there and watch it. David Peterson and Carol Peterson, they won the trip for 2 to the Masters, which is going to be, I believe, the week before Thanksgiving. and then Andy Roisman won second place, and then a former member of ours, Greg Burry, he won third place. Altogether, we sold 301 tickets. So for all those that helped with that effort, thank you. For those that weren't able to help, you're more than welcome to make any kind of donations to the endowment fund or help us out next year. So thank you.
Okay, very well. I think it bears reiteration that everyone in the club has to participate and sell tickets, as usually happens. There are a few that are exceptional and sell the majority of the tickets, but we all have to pitch in. And so as we look forward to the fall and Bill Roy's administration of the club, there will be opportunities to get engaged, and there may even be a fall project. So everyone has to hear it once again that this is a collective effort. Brian, are you amenable to, since you're in charge of social, working with us for a virtual happy hour this coming Thursday, the 23rd of April at 5:30?
Yeah, let's, we talked about that at the board meeting. I think that's an excellent idea. We'll do the virtual happy hour on Thursday at 5:30. We'll send out a Zoom invite, and people can join, and we can see who has the craziest shirt on. We can have like a little challenge for wild and crazy shirts, t-shirts. I don't know.
All right. Well, that'll be a lot of fun. So
yeah,
That's this Thursday, as in 3 days from now?
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
This Thursday.
23rd.
And another announcement there, we do have an endowment board meeting this Wednesday at 1:30, which we will be reviewing the grant requests. So I've sent out a couple emails for anyone that would like to join in that. I've seen a lot of responses already, but for anybody that has not, let me know. Please feel free to do so, and you're more than welcome to join the board meeting as a member. Again, only the members of the board are the ones with votes, but you're more than welcome to join and listen in and hear how we go about that process. So,
Do you need a Zoom meeting set up for that?
I do.
Yeah. Gotcha.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Brian.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate all of that. Do we have Rich Shapak back online?
No, it looks like we lost him.
We do. Okay. All right. Then while Wendy, if you be of assist to Reagan, try to get him back on.
I sent him a message.
One of the things that I added to this week's meeting, and I may continue to do so since we're meeting virtually, is question of the week for everyone. That today's question is, what was your most embarrassing moment? And so, if there's a club member that wants to share with us that this is a way to perhaps have some fun and get to know a little bit more about each other, and we'll just spend a few minutes and talk about this. Is there anyone that wishes to start out and comment on this? If so, raise your hand. Reagan, you can observe them, and is there anyone that is wishing to volunteer? George Stern, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, John, I can tell you one. After I became president of a railroad, I wanted to impress on all the people in the yard and all that I was really one of the group and had been a brakeman and could do all these works in the yard. And I was down in the yard and I said, well, I'll show them. I'll swing up on an engine as it's leaving town and wave to everybody. So I dashed out into the yard, climbed up on an engine. It was a yard engine that was parked.
Oh, it was. I see. Well, that is funny, George.
I was very embarrassed.
Yeah. Anyone else have a quick story about an embarrassing moment?
It's not mine, but my cousin I met for a Zoom family Easter, and she told me her son, they thought he had COVID, and when the hospital sent him home to quarantine himself, she put him in the basement. And my favorite part was that she had to feed him through a cat door. I love that one. Yeah.
Oh, well.
And he didn't end up having COVID either.
Yeah,
so
he just had bronchitis.
Hey, John.
Oh, that's funny. That's
John?
funny. Well, I saw Dave and Donna.
Yeah,
Zimmerman. So
I
welcome.
have one, John.
Sure, Dave.
Many years ago, I was taking my daughter an Indy Princess camp out trip with John Schroet, and he had his daughter Jackie and Jennifer, and they decided to have almost a war in our back seat. We had to build a wall between them with the coolers and everything. It was really quite a scene. And it was, we really had to work hard not to be totally embarrassed being dads of these two warring princesses.
Well, that's true. And now they're best of friends, you know, as our wives are. And that's wonderful. You know, many of us need to remember that I think, Dave, you have the record for the most campouts through the YMCA Indian Princess program with daughters. Of course, having 4 daughters, I think you attended approximately 34 campouts, as I can remember. Those are weekend campouts. So you're a heck of a dad. Anyone else real quick? We can take one more. Anybody? Okay. Well, not seeing anything else. And let's turn to Wendy. Were you successful in getting Richard back on?
No, Richard's going to be, he might call him, but I think he's frustrated. His audio was not working, so he'll join us next week for the 2-minute update.
Okay. All right. Well, very, very good. Well, I know I'm anxious to hear from Bill Cousins. So let's turn it over to you, Bob Swanson, for an introduction of our speaker today.
Actually, I'm going to do the introduction.
Oh, you will?
Yeah.
All right. Very good.
Oh.
Well,
Founded by Secret Service veteran Bill Cousins, W.J. Cousins and Associates provides a full range of security, investigation, protection, and litigation consulting services to individuals, corporations, law firms, and government agencies worldwide. Bill earned a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Madonna University and Master's of Science degree from the Police Executive Leadership Program at Johns Hopkins University. He was a police officer for 7 years before serving as a United States Secret Service agent for 22 years. While in the Secret Service, Bill gained extensive expertise in investigations, polygraph, protection, event planning, use of force, and non-lethal weapons. Bill later went into private industry, where he was the director of security for a major automotive corporation, where he led a team of security personnel in the areas of vulnerability and threat assessments, executive protection, investigations, physical security, as well as personal security for a company of expats and their families across the globe. Bill was also head of security for a major automotive supplier in Detroit and led all security programs for over 30 facilities across 4 continents, including vulnerability and threat assessments, travel security, investigations, executive protection, and kidnapping and ransom programs. He is currently a licensed professional investigator in the state of Michigan and a commissioner for the Detroit Crime Commission. Throughout his education and career, Bill experienced a number of assignments that established his expertise in investigations, security, training, and protection, which helped him to start his own private security firm. Bill has partnered with some of the leading experts and associations in security to ensure the clients of W.J. Cousins and Associates are receiving the best consulting services out there. With over 30 years of progressive leadership experience in government, private industry, and law enforcement securities, W.J. Cousins and Associates has a lifelong commitment to providing expert advice and the highest standard of services in the fields of security, investigation, protection, and litigation consulting on a global scale. Give me 1 second, Bill, till you pull up your slideshow. And just 1 moment. I got to share my screen.
Can you hear me, Wendy?
I can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, great. All right, let me change the view.
Are you able to pull yours up? Hold on.
It's up on my screen.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Let me change the view of this.
Hold on. Share. You need to share your screen. I thought I was going to run it.
Let's see if I can do that.
Yep.
There we go. Let me change.
Excellent. I see it. We're good.
Whoops. And let's see. There we go.
You're good.
Does everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. We've been having technical difficulties. Wendy can attest that over the weekend we worked very hard to try and fix this, but I was unable to get my camera working. So my deepest apologies. As Wendy said, this presentation is going to be about the cannabis industry here in Michigan. And the reason I selected that is because it is very pertinent to what's going on today. Whether or not you are a patient or user of marijuana, or you're a resident of a city, because many cities are now debating whether to opt into the program or opt out. And I hope to touch on that during this meeting. But what we're going to discuss today, we'll go over my introduction, which Wendy did a great job on. Then we're going to talk about the current state of medical marijuana in the nation and in state, some of the primary public acts, the types of licenses that you can get in this state, some general rules, some license and regulatory affairs rules, and then we're going to talk a little bit about selecting a security consultant, and then what goes into what I will call a professional security plan. And then we'll close out with some questions and answers. First of all, as Wendy said, I'm the founder and owner of W.J. Cousins and Associates. My primary revenue stream is in the security consulting field, although I do have a private investigators or a professional investigators license here in this state. I've got over 35, hate to admit it, closer to 40 years between law enforcement and private industry or being out on my own. I was a director of corporate security at 2 major corporations for 9 years, and I've been an independent firm for about 5 years. My career in the Secret Service, I started off in Detroit field office. I was a polygrapher, which is a lie detector, polygraph examiner. Then I went to the I did a short-term assignment in Moscow, and then I was transferred to the vice president's detail for 4 years, went to training division for 2 or 3 years. I got banished to Toledo for a reason I don't know. and still don't know to this date, but they sent me to Toledo. But from that, I was promoted to an assistant special agent in charge back in headquarters in the financial crime division. From there, I took a voluntary transfer for personal reasons back to the Detroit area to be closer to my sons. And I closed out there my Secret Service career. Then went on to Deloitte in a competitive intelligence group where we used to steal other professional services organizations' secrets and plans, all legal and legitimate. Director of security for, actually it was Chrysler for 5 years. Then I went to American Axle for a little over a year, and then I decided to go out on my own. But as the slide indicates, I'm a full service firm offering security consulting, private investigations, litigations. I partnered with some of the greatest attorneys in the area, both on the criminal side and administrative for licensing and regulatory affairs. And I was an advisor on the LARA, Licensing and Regulatory Affairs Working Group, in setting the security standards for the Michigan licensing. Again, why this is important to you, because I don't know, the majority of you probably live in the suburban areas, Royal Oak, Birmingham, probably mostly Oakland County, I'm sure. And many of these local jurisdictions are at this time starting to determine whether or not they want to opt into the state program. And there's some advantages to it and there's some disadvantages. The advantages are it brings a great deal of revenue, and I'll talk about how that revenue is dispersed. But the negatives are very few, actually, if the facilities are properly regulated. And one of those regulations is to have a security plan, an operating security plan, which we're going to talk about today. In the United States, right now, marijuana is still federally scheduled number 1 narcotic. In other words, it's illegal on the federal level to possess or sell, obviously, to transport anything to do with marijuana. However, approximately 33, it's probably closer to 35 states have now legalized medical marijuana. And we'll talk about the difference between that and adult use or recreational. Probably 12 to 15 states have legalized marijuana for recreational use, Michigan being one of them. The entrepreneurs still cannot deposit cash in an FDIC bank as a normal transaction. However, there's a caveat to this, as the banking system is now starting to relax to allow this money to be deposited into the bank and into the system. If it is deposited, a suspicious activity report is generated and reported to FinCEN at Treasury Department. Some banks, the larger national banks, don't want to touch the marijuana industry because they don't want the scrutiny, because the SARs, as they're generated, it sends a little alert to headquarters Treasury, and if you get too many, there's a possibility there'll be an audit. And the banks don't want that. They don't want federal regulators coming in. Investors or shareholders, they do not want their bank, their investment, to be examined by auditors. Now, pricing varies by the product and type based on supply and demand that's out there. Buds, which are the flower, goes to about between $200 and $400 an ounce. Really good quality marijuana goes for about $6,000 a pound. Concentrates, which are waxes and oils, CBD oils, so forth, $20 to $60 a gram. Edibles for food or gummies are $3 to $8 per dose. Tinctures, which is a concentrated liquid, is $20 to $40, depending on the concentration. Michigan medical marijuana projected to become $725.6 million in industry in 2019. Well, I did some quick review of the state's reports. In the last 5 months, there's been approximately $131,500,000 in marijuana sales within the state. Of that, the revenue generated for the state for the last 5 months, and this is just medical, not recreational or adult use marijuana, has been over almost $9 million in income for the state. Now, what happens with this revenue that comes in? Well, 30% of it stays within the state government to be used as they deem necessary. So hopefully they're using it for education, roads, and so forth, but that's the governor's call, not mine. 25% go to the local communities that opt in. So by opting in, it means that you're allowing marijuana-related facilities within your local community. 30% goes to the counties with jurisdictions that opt in. So in Oakland County, there's a number of local communities that have opted in. The county gets 30% to be used. 5% goes to the sheriff's offices with jurisdictions that opt in. 5% goes of the overall revenue, tax revenue, goes to the Michigan State Police. And 5% goes to training local law enforcement officers. So the money is being spent, in my opinion, very wisely. Now, how did this all come about? A number of acts were passed in 2016, and I'm just going to go over those real briefly. The first one is Act 282, which is the Marijuana Tracking Act. It provides for the definitions of marijuana in all the rules. It provides for the tracking of sales. It set up the oversight by the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs. From the LARA, they have now developed, they've had their own division. It's called the Marijuana Regulatory Agency. Act 283 allows for the use of medical marijuana and established the legality of medical marijuana. It set the regulations for medical marijuana card and licensing, set a bona fide physician-patient relationship, set definitions of what a caregiver is. Now, if you don't know what a caregiver is somebody, is an individual who can grow a limited number of plants and provide his quote unquote or her quote unquote patients with the marijuana for their medical purposes. Caregivers are going by the wayside. The state is forcing them out now. And it also set the definition rules for quantities, possessions, transportation, and so forth that goes with the industry. Public Act 281 provides for the facilities licensing and standards. It set up the third-party inventory control requirement, the licensing board, which has since gone by the wayside, the licensing standards. It's set up for the 5 different licenses, which we'll talk about. It established the taxes and fees. It also established a marijuana advisory panel. Excuse me, 1 second, let me get a drink. Now the license type, the first one, and probably the most expensive one to get as far as investment, is a grow license or cultivation license. And there's 3 different levels There's a Class A, which you can have up to 500 plants. Class B, which you can have between 5 and 1,000 plants. In Class C, which is up to 1,500 plants. Now, these licenses can be stacked. What I mean by that is you can get multiple Class C licenses. So if you get 2 Class C licenses, you can have up to 3,000 plants. If you have 3 Class C licenses, 4,500 plants and on. The next license is a processing license. Now, this is where the marijuana product, the plant, is taken and converted to concentrates, edibles that you can actually, like gummies, and you can place in food, and the liquid marijuana, the tinctures. Now, all of these licenses, every license has to send their product to a licensed safety compliance facility, which ensures the products meet state health standards for mold, carcinogens, etc. And it also allows for the content, THC content, to be labeled correctly. So if you decide to go in and purchase some marijuana related product, you want to know specifically what you're buying. As I equate, it's the difference between giving somebody who's never drank alcohol before a half glass of wine versus, shall we say, a bottle of tequila or whiskey. The THC content will definitely affect you, and to what degree everybody reacts differently. Another license is a secure transport. Now, these licenses allow the license holder to transport all medical marijuana to and from locations, also now adult use. Authorized to transport all cash or currency related to the medical marijuana or adult use facilities. For instance, if I owned a cultivation facility, a grow, and I want a certain provisioning center or the retail center wants to purchase my product, you have to use a secure transport to transport the product from the cultivation facility to the retail center, and any transfer of money has to be done through the secure transport. The provisioning center is authorized to sell medical marijuana products. Also, the adult use or retail centers for the what we'll call recreational marijuana. Now, some of the general rules that go with the marijuana is all marijuana, whether it's recreational or medical, has to be tagged using the state-approved RFID metric system. This is a general system that audits and monitors all the marijuana plants from seed to sale to destruction. So as a marijuana product is begun after, I believe it's 4 or 6 inches to plant, it's tagged and it's being controlled and regulated and monitored by the state. With that, I always advise my clients to have a state-approved backup proprietary system, because metric has been hacked into in other states. Some of those, I got 3 listed here that are common: Silverleaf, BioTrack, and Atlas. Now, an applicant has to submit a facility plan with their licensing. It requires security requirements in addition to all the other building and code requirements that are which accompanies any building or new business. The security measures must contain a video surveillance system. That's just an example of what is required, but there's other requirements which we'll talk about here shortly. Now, any commingled licenses such as grow and processing. So I can have a grow cultivation facility and build a processing license, a processing center with it if I'm licensed for both. they have to be completely and separated by either a man trap or airlock. If you get a license for any marijuana facility, you waive your Fourth Amendment rights, which means any facility can be inspected at any time by law enforcement or the marijuana regulatory agency. Law enforcement or LARA, MRA, must have ability to monitor video surveillance system at any time. So in other words, if a state police, local police, sheriff want to, they can get online and they can watch your cameras in real time. Now, Rule 33 primarily addresses the secure transport. And the secure transport must have their own facility. In other words, you cannot go into business with any of the other licenses. In a secure transport can't operate their business out of a cultivation facility, processing facility, or provisioning dispensary type facility. The secure transport has physical custody of the marijuana or money, but legal custody belongs to transferor and transferee. The transporter must transport marijuana in a locked, secured, and sealed container. The container cannot be accessible while in transport. So in other words, the two individuals riding in the right front seat of the compartment cannot at any time be able to reach back into the cargo portion of the vehicle. All currency must be in a sealed container accessible to the licensee only. So in other words, when going from point A to point B, the sender and receiver are the only ones that are going to be able to access the cash. All transactions must be entered into the statewide monitoring system, the metric. Again, everything moves and it's scanned via RFID. All money associated with the purchase, sale of marijuana must be logged and tracked. Records must be available to law enforcement or the MRA. Before a transporter takes off, for the movement of either marijuana product or money, they must file a route plan, a manifest with the state and the state police. In the event of an emergency, such as inclement weather, transporter must make notifications of any change or delay of route to the state. The transporter may only keep product for 48 hours. So in other words, the transporter can only keep the product in their office or their facility for 48 hours, not any longer than that. The employee of a marijuana facility must be designated to monitor and execute the transfer or destruction of any marijuana. And the manifest in the statewide monitoring system is created to document the transfers provided in the act. This is not an approved vehicle. It is, obviously, it's got marijuana labeled all over it. Let me pose a question to the audience today. Think about when was the last time you ever saw a liquor truck, an actual liquor truck out on the roadway? Well, you never have, because they're intentionally unmarked. The only markings a liquor truck would have will be on the top of the cargo end, the top of the vehicle, and that's for tracking in the event that it's hijacked. The police can put their helicopters up to hopefully identify the vehicle in traffic. This is more of an approved secure facility. As you can see above the passenger door, there's a camera, a video camera. This is what the interior of one of these vehicles looks like. Now, Rule 35, going into any marijuana facility, all visitors must be escorted and into limited access areas. All interior windows, rooms, point of entry, exits must be locked with a minimum of a commercial grade lock. That's a old-fashioned lock and key. The licensee must maintain an alarm system. The licensee must have a video surveillance system that consists of at least the following: a DVR, NVR with 30-day retention. Cameras, video monitors must be operational 24/7. There must be digital archiving and a color printer for any still photos. Because what occurs is when the state comes out to do their inspection, their routine inspection, they will check, make sure the camera system is operational. And when they do that, they will tell the applicant, okay, go to camera number 12 and print a picture from 12 o'clock, 12 noon or 12:10 Tuesday afternoon on this date. So the licensee has to be able to go in there, find that still photo from the surveillance cameras and be able to print that picture for the inspector. Now, some of the technology, surveillance systems, much camera, you must have at least one camera covering each access point. By access point, it has to be on, let's say, the hallway side as well as the interior of the room. All entrances and exits to the building must have camera coverage from both interior and exterior vantage points. Must have camera coverage where marijuana products are weighed, sold, packed, loaded, and unloaded, prepared or moved within the marijuana facility. All recordings must have sufficient resolution, a minimum of 720p. Cameras must be permanently mounted within 20 feet of all exits and entry points. What that really means is it has to include a 20-foot circumference from either side of the doorway. Images must provide clear and certain identification of any persons, including facial features and activities. The video surveillance must run continuously, 24/7. All physical media must be stored securely. Recordings must be kept for a minimum of 30 days. Surveillance recordings are subject to inspection. Video system shall be equipped with a failure notification system. What this is just as it says, if in the event camera system or due to a power outage, cameras go out, video surveillance goes out, it has to have a notification system to both the state and the applicant. The video system must be able to be accessed remotely. Licensees shall maintain an alarm system at the marijuana facility. All information related to the alarm system must be provided to Laura. 37. Marijuana product to be destroyed must be rendered unusable, and unrecognizable by grinding and incorporating mixture into paper or plastic waste, cardboard or food waste, fermented organic matter, or other compost activator. And how this is usually done is with a big grinder, similar to a paper shredder. Marijuana product must be rendered, but must be entered into the metric system as destroyed. Product waste must be placed in a secured receptacle. Mixture is not less than 50% non-marijuana product waste. This slide here is I use because there's a lot of people out there that one day on Friday they were writing traffic or parking tickets, and on the next day they were all of a sudden security consultants. And we want to make sure that you don't use those type of quote unquote consultants, because these facilities are covered under the civil litigation for you have a duty of care. So when I advise my potential clients that if they're looking at a security consultant, it's no different than if you have a business and you want a security assessment done at your business, research the background of the individual or the company. See how long they've been in the industry. Are they actually active in the industry? Are they involved in, like, the American Society for Industrial Security, which is an international organization? Check their experience level, their past projects, their references. Is that consultant credible? Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, if something bad happens on your facility, you're responsible. You're going to get sued. And what occurs is, and I've been in depositions before, where they'll come in, whether they're the plaintiff or the defense, usually the plaintiff, is they're going to ask the defense, well, who did your security plan? And then they're going to interview that individual through a deposition, and you want to make sure that that individual is credible and they have a background for this. What I'm seeing now is, to save money, a lot of locations are writing their own security plans. Well, that's well and good as long as nothing happens. But if something does adversely occur, you're going to be writing, your insurance company and you are going to be writing a large check to the plaintiff in a case. The security plan should contain a plan that eliminates the theft or diversion of marijuana product and that assists law enforcement agency and regulators. A methodology for record keeping, tracking, and monitoring inventory that discourages unlawful activity. A security plan for the entire facility that protects employees, visitors, products, shipping, and transportation. Should include the use of technology, video surveillance system, alarm and access controls, security standards for the arrival and departure of secure transport, as well as for the proper destruction of older unusable product. A plan that deters, denies, detects, defends, delays against intrusion. Here's a picture of some of the technology that I put in my plans. Obviously, the cameras, the access control, whether it's a pin pad and proximity card or just proximity card. Some places that have the funding will go with biometrics, which is in the bottom left-hand corner, panic alarms, which is the bottom center, and door contacts. So it's recorded when a door opens and closes within a facility. The key points, you should have protocols, not only what's required by the state, but also additional protocols for what to do in the event of such as a holdup. Because I always say to clients, what's in the banking industry, when new tellers are hired, they go through a week or 2 weeks training. And one of the things that the bank security hammers into the new tellers or representatives is, in the event of a holdup, give them the product, give them the money. It's only cash. In this case, it's only marijuana. They're all insured. And it's not worth anybody getting hurt over, let alone killed. Make sure all the movements of the marijuana are being tracked. That inventory control is done with the anti-diversion. Opening and closing procedures, how to avoid getting robbed at gunpoint, whether during the opening or closing process. You should have liaison with local law enforcement. Reporting systems, make sure they're all operable. In visitor procedures, if somebody comes into a grow facility, how are you going to allow them to come into the facility? How are you going to record that they were there? and make sure that they're being accompanied at all times. Here's some pictures of marijuana facilities that are out there. Here's a provisioning center. Now, I've done some work in Nevada, and it's really interesting there. You can walk into a place that looks similar to this, like any regular store, retail outlet, or some of them have armed guards with shoulder weapons and tactical gear, which I think is a little much. Here's another provisioning center. At this point, juncture, I usually give advice to the potential clients. And then, do you have any questions so I can give you answers? Questions?
If anyone has a question, you're just going to need to unmute yourself.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What sort of security problems have actually occurred to date in Michigan?
Well, that's really good question. Is it John?
Yeah.
John, what we're seeing out there is holdups, but they're usually in the Detroit area. I have not seen any in the Suburbans. We've seen breaking and enterings into the Detroit, one or two Detroit facilities. Now, I'll be honest with you. Is anybody, Lathrop Village is a community right now that's going through, the village council's going through and examining the feasibility of allowing a marijuana facility into their village. And I met with one of the councilmen, and he asked me, he said, Bill, he says, give me some hardcore stats of the crime rate. And there are no hardcore stats because, first of all, it's too new of an industry. That's number one. Number two, what we see out there, if you go to try to get stats, you'll get one stat from an organization just like it's called Normal, NORML, which is a national organization of marijuana licensing, I guess. And they'll report that the crime statistics are relatively low near marijuana facilities. But then you'll get another anti-marijuana organization post a study that says the crime rates are up. I tend to think that they're down. If you do proper requirements, as I advised this councilman, I said, the state has one set of standards, which is which everybody's required. But as a community, you can require additional standards. And so to answer your question, there are the only two things that we've read are holdups in Detroit, and there's only just been a few of those in any legitimate licensed facility. Now, I don't know if you remember, about 6 months ago, 8 months ago, there was I think the Free Press or the Detroit News did an article on the number of crimes with home care givers. Now, if you go up north into the rural areas where farmers are growing the marijuana in their barns and whatever, bad guys are finding out about this. And they're caregivers. They're not licensed facilities like the licenses we just went over. They're getting held up and they're getting robbed at gunpoint to the point that they're getting tied up and bound in their homes at gunpoint, and then their cash and their products being stolen. So generally speaking, there's not I don't really believe that there's a high crime rate. Next, anybody else?
Oh, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
It's not really about security, but there's just such a discrepancy of what is considered legal in Michigan. Do you know like how much is like just a normal person, are people without medical marijuana cards allowed to carry, you know, marijuana or edibles or anything like that?
Grandchild and granddog.
All right, who's talking?
And, but.
All right, I muted David. We're good. Carry on.
Yes, you can, I believe, well, for medical marijuana, it's tracked. So an individual with a medical marijuana card goes into a provisioning center. When you walk in there, you have to provide your medical marijuana card and your driver's license. At that, they enter you into a statewide system, into the metric system. So they will know that Bill Cousins on this date went into this location and purchased 1 ounce of whatever kind of marijuana it was. Now, I believe there's a limit to 3 or 4 ounces per month for a medical patient.
Okay.
However, recreational adult use, there's no limit. You walk in, you can buy, you can just show your ID that you're over 21 and you can buy whatever you want. Now, you can't consume it. Really, the only place you can legally consume it is your home or a friend's home. You can't do it at a hotel. You can't do it in your car, and you can't do it out in public, and you can't do it at obviously an entertainment event legally.
Okay. Thank you.
Not a problem.
I know that.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
With your CIA experience, do you know about the book Operation Paperclip?
Actually, it's Secret Service, and no, I'm afraid I haven't been acquainted with that.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What are the penalties for breaking any of these rules if you're a facility? Are they misdemeanors, felonies?
Well, it depends. It depends on the severity. What they'll do is they'll give warnings. Again, it depends on the severity. The state will give a citation, and then they'll revoke your license. Now, if they find out that you are selling product out the back door, so to say, so your expired product, you're selling it out on the street, you'll get charged criminally, a felony. One thing to remember is never mess with the government.
I have another question. I have a friend who was actually a judge in Colorado, and I go skiing with him every year, so I'm getting the update on marijuana in Colorado, and he claims that the state is very disappointed in the amount of income they've gotten, although it's, I don't know, 200 million or something, a lot of money, but a lot of the people are going to the black market because it's cheaper, half of them.
That's true. And that's why the law enforcement has stepped up enforcement on the street, we'll call it the black market street marijuana. And what will eventually happen is this thing evolves, is the penalties will become stiffer. Judges will be pretty much forced to be issuing sentencing on those and upon conviction. Now, regarding your friend that's a judge in Colorado, I believe the last time I checked, Michigan had more medical marijuana cards issued than any other state.
No, that's right.
So Michigan was 1, 2, or 3. They're way higher. Now the tax for medical marijuana is less than recreational. And you know what? I don't know the tax percentages at this time. But the disadvantage of having a medical marijuana card is this: I can go get a medical marijuana card. It's fairly easy. The problem is I have a concealed pistol license permit. I have to give that license up. I can't have a CPL and have a medical marijuana card, as an example. So if I so choose, it would be better for me to go and just buy recreational adult use marijuana. People, I firmly believe the people that are buying it on is it cheaper? Yeah. But is it healthier? Is it clean? The answer is no. Most of those people have, in my opinion, probably have addiction problems to begin with. But your average Joe citizen, they're going to go and buy it at a retail shop, adult use facility, and what they get is going to be exactly what it says on the label. It's going to be tested. There's not going to be any mold. There's not going to be any insect, no carcinogens in it like you can get when you buy it off the street. It's going to take some time, but I think this is where it's going to evolve. Any other questions? Well, again, most of you probably live in Oakland County area, I'm guessing, I don't know. And keep an eye out in your communities to see if your city governments are looking into this or it's being put up to a vote. I think in September, all governments have to be, local governments have to be opt-in or opt-out. If you ever have any questions, Wendy has my contact information. You can look me up on the internet. I'll be more than happy to answer your questions privately if you have a question. Wendy?
Send out the slides on Club Runner to our club so that they would have the benefit of that excellent information that has been provided.
Bill, are you okay with me sending out your slides?
Yeah, that's okay. Now, I have to caution you, those rules numbers have changed because the states modified them, and I haven't had a chance to go in and change it, but the information in there is solid.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Thank you again, Bill. We appreciate that very much. And with that, let's ask you, Bill Roy, do you want to sing Smile, or I did not have that unplanned because we could all be muted and sing that privately. What's your pleasure? I'm going to leave it to you.
Sure, I'll sing.
All right. So we'll have Bill alone, and then the rest of us be muted, and we'll conclude with Smile, and then just a couple remarks. Go ahead, forward, Bill.
Smile and the world smiles with you. Sing a song. Don't be worried, just be cheery all day long. Whenever your trials, your troubles, and your cares seem to be more than you can really bear, smile and the world smiles with you. Sing a song. Hey!
Well, thank you, Bill. Thank you very much, everyone. We appreciate your participating today. Keep in mind this Wednesday there'll be a notice for the endowment fund board meeting. And then, of course, this Thursday, a happy hour at 5:30 on Zoom, and there will be a craziest shirt contest. So we're looking forward to that. So thank you, everyone. Get out there and connect the world. We'll be back here next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank
John.
you, Reagan, for hosting. Appreciate it.